Do not change the station. What you're hearing is coming from the Big Sci-Fi Podcast and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode of... Wait a minute. Receiving a new transmission. What is that? What am I seeing? It's big. It's really big. Oh my God, it's so... Welcome to Season 6 of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy. Join our crew, Adina, Brian, Cris, and Steve, as we travel the Milky Way looking for the best that science fiction has to offer. Make sure you're strapped in tight, because we're going to have a lot of fun talking all things sci-fi. Stay tuned to this channel for the next audio transmission.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, where we have really fun discussions about all things sci-fi. Today, I want to talk about a very new Netflix show, Three Body Problem, and our feelings on it. To help me overanalyze the series in excruciating detail are my usual co-hosts, Adina Mignona.
Hello. And not just overanalyze the series, overanalyze the first two episodes.
Right,
Or
the
maybe
first
just
two
the first,
episodes.
or maybe just the first, if that's all we get through today.
Right, exactly. Brian Donahue.
Hey, it's Brian from Ohio, and you kind of messed up a little bit. You almost said the Three Bottom Problem, and I would watch that show too, I think.
Yeah, that's the spinoff. That's supposed to be coming in 2026, but there's some scheduling problems. And also Steve Merkin.
Hello, everybody, and please don't want to strangle me, my fellow co-hosts, but it was 88 degrees here today in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Ah,
It was
I'm
70
sorry,
here.
I'm not
We're
excited about that.
A dry 88 or a humid 88?
A
There's
dry
a big difference.
88. It's
okay.
a dry 88. Yes, yeah. So, but it
Legitimate.
still feels unusual since we've had all this rain and cold weather, and it's going to hit again this weekend. So, blah blah blah. Anyway, on to the show.
On to the show, but I will say it's very warm here. I don't know what the temperature is today, but I had my windows open. I was driving. It was great.
Nice.
And we had like a massive snowstorm like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I don't get it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the three-body problem, but specifically the first two episodes, because I'll say behind the scenes, we're all at different places. I think we initially said, hey, let's all try and get to at least episode 3. People are busy, but then Steve and I could not stop watching the show. So I'm on episode 4. He finished the season. So We're going to try and only focus on episode 1 and 2. Well, my first question for everyone, what are your overall thoughts on the show? How are you feeling about it?
This is Brian from Ohio, in case you're wondering. I have been so pleasantly surprised, and this is a show. I'm just 2 episodes in. I've watched episodes 1 and 2. I am watching this show and just enjoying it. I'm not trying to figure it out all the way. I'm not trying to see if I can figure out what's coming or why this is happening or that. I am really just enjoying the show for what it is, because it's different, and it's got Rosalind Chow in it, Keiko from our beloved Next Generation. And it's just, I love the characters. I love the special effects are great. It's intriguing. It's taking you forwards and backwards in time to tell the story. I want to know what happens next. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm going to say very, similar. I'm really enjoying it. There's so many things that I'm pleased about. I was very nervous about this because I read the book we were talking about this before we started recording today. I'm trying to remember when I read the book. It was in the 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere thereabouts. It was definitely before 2017, because 2017 is when I started keeping track of all the books I read in a spreadsheet, and I didn't go back and backfill. So it was before 2017. But so anyway, so I know where I knew basically what we were getting, sort of, but you never know really how a show is going to get adapted into a movie or into a show from a book. But I know what's behind it. I generally know what's behind everything. And because it's very, in some ways, physics heavy, I was very nervous about like how are they going to do this? And are people going to be like engaged with some of the like heavy physics? And well, one, hearing you guys, is wonderful. But two, every time one of the characters would say something that is obviously explaining some basic physics concept to the non-physics person, the way they did it has been wonderful in like every case, especially I think it's the character Dr. Saul, like his lines of dialogue of physics explanations are awesome. So I'm so far very happy. The only reason I haven't watched more of it yet is I just have not had time.
Yeah, I was kicking myself today. I haven't had the time until this a little bit this morning. And I was like, oh man, I wish I would have tried to carve out another couple hours so I could see more, because I really didn't want to stop. Yeah. But I just didn't. So it's a good show, folks. Mr. Steve, how about you, my friend?
Well, yes, I had to watch it all the way through. I didn't know how far each one of you were going to get through it, and I had the time, so I did watch it. So I will limit extremely what I have to say, because what was that line from the Haunted Mansion ride? No, that's from Pirates of the Caribbean. He knows too much, the secret. And so I don't want to spoil it for you guys, and I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't watched it yet. So I will, again, keep myself to episodes 1 and 2. And to keep myself under control, I do have the episode breakdown here from Wikipedia, so I know what I should talk about and what I should not talk about.
Anyone listening, I hope you've seen episodes 1 or 2, because obviously we're going to spoil the heck out of it. If you haven't, pause now. We'll wait. We'll be here when you get back.
Yes.
Go watch at least episodes 1 and 2.
We'll be eating a few snacks, though. I'm gonna be honest. So taking a nap.
Get Doritos.
Yeah, or Cheetos. I've been enjoying Cheetos a lot lately, Chris. Baked Cheetos.
Baked Cheetos.
Sublime.
Like
Sublime.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, it sucked you right in with the opening sequence of what was happening during the Cultural Revolution that was happening in China, and how intellectuals, scientists, non-believers were persecuted and imprisoned and sent to re-education camps and so on. And you learn about that in the very first sequence with regards to the main character, one of the main characters, Papa. So,
Yeah, I agree with everyone. It's just like one of those shows where I'm always not hesitant, but I'm always like, okay, I'm going to start a new show, and I'm always ready to like have to power through the first couple of episodes to get into it. But I felt like from the very first scene, I was hooked. And yeah, I love the physics stuff. I just can't stop watching it, honestly.
I love that you said that you love the physics stuff. Like, this is one of those shows. What I wish like every like 16, 17-year-old would see it, even though it's like TVMA for mature audiences. I and there's, at least so far, I'm iffy on whether I would let my almost 14-year-old watch it. Well, so far I'm iffy, but I wish they kind of made it a little bit more appropriate for that age range, because of the physics stuff. I think it's enough to basically get kids asking, ooh, interesting, and possibly spur their interest as they think about what they're going to do in college and beyond.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I'm always excited when I hear physics talk. And then when I see people in a lab looking at a computer screen, for whatever reason, I'm instantly in. But when I forgot the character's name, I'm going to have to pull him up. And he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, he's like basically freaking out because all of the physics that we know to be true is no longer true. And it's like all of these, not particle accelerators. What are they called? Can you help me out, Adina?
Yeah.
They're using?
Yes, the big particle. That was exactly it.
Oh, they are particle accelerators.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So all the particle accelerators across the world are just producing these like nonsense results, and physics has essentially gone out the window. And I'm like, I love it. Yeah. Just give me more.
Well, there's your suspension of belief. If physics goes out the window, then you can do whatever you want.
Right, but the fact that it's like it's not just saying, "Oh, we're just going to accept it," but the fact that they make a big deal about this should not be possible, it's like that's where I allow it to be like, okay. And plus, I love science fiction, so I'm used to them doing things that you technically can't do. But yeah, I'm loving that. How are we all feeling about the central mystery from the first two episodes?
It was really intriguing. And, to go from China and what's happening in the revolution and to go kind of to the other side of the world and see what's happening at a later point in time, right? To just it's intriguing. And then I gotta say, like, the whole switching of the lights in the universe.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That was like when you realize that huge satellite is it's not a weapon. And then I won't say it yet. What she does to make oh my gosh! It's the whole thing, and then the whole head thing, the crown with the gaming.
Yeah. I have to say it, and I apologize, but I'm the Star Trek guy. We're all the Star Trek people. Did this sound like an episode 2 at all? Does this ring a bell? The universe winking in and out.
Oh my goodness!
Really terrible.
Which series?
Original series.
Oh, I'm not. I would have to watch that again. It's been a while.
Yeah, this is alternative factor where there's like these two guys and they keep switching places, and the universe keeps winking in and out. And the guy goes, "It's the key, the key, the key," and he's running around the ship, and he has a Band-Aid on his head.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection.
But like, I just
like that's
love
a loose connection.
No.
Oh, not really. But it's kind of it's the same thing. It's like the stars are winking in and out, right?
Huh.
I guess I gotta go back and watch that episode.
I haven't seen that for a long time.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But
okay, we all have homework. We got to go watch the alternative factor.
I'll do it on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris, I think there's so much in this that is the mystery is really hooked. They've done a great job of hooking you with the mystery and the countdown clock.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Oh my gosh. What, wanting to know what that was about and that it could be turned off and then linking that to making contact and what that means, and it's just chilling.
Yeah. I think it's kind of hard just because, again, going into the show since I had read the book. So I know I already know the answer,
right.
So, but even knowing that it's still, I'm still all in on this show. It is absolutely still very compelling, even knowing all of that.
Interesting.
It'll be very interesting, Adina, once you've watched all 8 episodes, and then you can refer back to the book to let us know how accurate or how close it was. Because of course I never read the book, so I'm just watching this cold, and I took it all the way to the very end. So I don't know if the book is the same as this, or is this the American interpretation, or the Anglo interpretation of the story?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gotta be to some degree, because for the most part, well, I mean, the book was also somewhat international. Of course, the main character was still, Rosalind Chow's character in the book, and it still had a lot of focus on her backstory with the Cultural Revolution and what she did in the work camp. So there's still all that, but then there's like a whole international component to what's happening.
Okay.
I've read over the last few years, I've read, I guess, a little bit more and more like Chinese science fiction, which is, I want to just say it's different than Western science fiction in how, and it's hard. I don't know if I have the right words, but when you're reading it, you kind of, I use the term, I feel a little magical realism in it, but I don't think that's the right term. It's more, though, that some aspects of fantasy are very much more integrated into. And then, of course, there's a focus on, and the characters, because they are Chinese, they have that cultural aspect, which is very, very different from European and American culture. But this book in particular actually had, for me, more of a Western feel than other Chinese science fiction I've read, which was really interesting because it's a little bit older. And the original author of it, I mean, he was born and lived through the Cultural Revolution and stuff like that. So he's not old, but yeah, he's older, but he's, so he's not young.
Yeah.
So it's a little, I don't know. It was a little surprising, I guess. Yeah, that's all I can say for now. So typically with a treadmill show, I'm able to actually, when I'm really motivated, it means at least once a day I can get on the treadmill to watch one show. And that's kind of like the right amount of time per day. So in 6 days, I'll be able to tell you.
Okay.
More episodes.
That's good. I was going to say, but yeah, it's interesting because it does have a sort of, it's still science fiction, but it does have a mystical feel to it. That's a bit different than other science fiction.
Yes, and that will be brought out in later episodes.
Right.
And I will not say anything more, but yes, there is a very interesting aspect of that.
Especially with that crown, with the video virtual reality type thing. Is that what you guys are talking about? Kind of that?
Well,
yeah.
That's one piece.
As far as the
element.
mystical kind of.
That's not what I would think.
No.
Again, kind of assuming what's coming. That's not what I would think that Steve is talking about.
Nope.
I think there's something else he's talking about.
But that is the interface, that device, that Google glasses or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
That allows characters to be vented.
And that,
wait, did you say vented or did you mean vetted?
Vetted, excuse me. Vetted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Vetted, thank you. Thank you.
They were sifted.
Thank you. Yes.
So I think too, let's just talk like Chris, sometimes you bring out like props and costumes and stuff like that because you're very interested in that. I thought that crown that they put on, they kept calling it the crown, right?
They called it. I don't remember what they called it. It was like
the first
just
episode or two. They called it the crown, the gold crown or something. But anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course.
That is such a cool prop. Like that thing looks otherworldly, doesn't it? And it it's a cool prop that makes you believe, oh, this is something weird,
Yeah, I had the thought
out of this world.
Where I was like, if I could find a replica of that, I'm sure they're out there. I'd love to get one put on my shelf. And then someone like, 3-body problem.
Right.
But like, that stuff is cool, but it's just, to me, it's like, that's my ultimate fear of it. Like, I do never want to play a game that realistic, even, just because I don't want to get sucked into it. I like to have, I don't even really like VR that much for that reason. So it's just like, that's my worst nightmare. No, don't want any part of it. Aside from holodecks, that's the other thing that's terrifying.
What about the holodeck?
Yeah.
That's also terrifying. I mean,
really,
the fact that people have to constantly, if you're in a situation where you wake up and you have to check to see if it's a holodeck, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem.
Well, have any of you ever used the VR goggles or one of those games?
So I used it once with my buddy.
You mean like these?
There you go.
Not only do I use it, one of my jobs at work, I wear a lot of different hats at work. I started to manage a VR lab at my facility.
That's
cool.
like Adina. Those are like 3 times bigger than any VR goggles I've ever. It's like Crocodile Dundee, and a guy pops out the knife. He goes, "Oh, you call that a knife? Yeah."
No, that's a fairly.
This is a VR goggle.
Yeah, that's a fairly durable headset. So that's the HTC Vive for anyone, since the folks who didn't see that. Right. It's very similar. It's similar yet different to the Oculus. This one is, though, what year is this? 2024. It's 4 years-ish old.
Okay.
And so newer generations are a little thinner, a little lighter.
Really.
Not a lot from what I have.
Right.
But yeah, and so at work we use it to look at our engineering models before we build them. At home we play a lot of Beat Saber.
Okay.
Which is like the best game ever.
Yeah, my son-in-law Brian, he got the Oculus. The Oculus, is that thing?
Oculus is another one.
Yeah,
that's
when
a very popular one.
Yeah, that's when he got, and so I there was a Jedi Star Wars game that he was playing. I put on. Yeah, it's really interesting. So in this sequence, when people put it on, they step into another world
Mhm.
than their own world, and
they can taste dirt.
Yeah,
Well,
which is
and
terrifying.
and that's the thing is so they recognize. So I'm gonna still call him Sam Tarley because I could never remember the actor's name. But
I love him.
The dude, yes, he's great. The dude who played Sam Tarley in Game of Thrones is in this as one of the main characters. And yeah, so as they're examining this virtual reality stuff, he's obviously versed in state of the art, and so they're recognizing this, or he's recognizing it at least for like, oh my god, this is 50 to 100 years beyond what we believe we know as humanity's state of the art. And what he's going through, and yeah, I mean, like it exactly, especially even the fact that most VR games that you can play these days, you aren't even able to perceive your whole full body. Most of them, even you see the headset, you see your hands, you don't even see much more than that. And, but that stuff is going to eventually come, and technology is developing. It's fun stuff.
Yeah. So there could be, Chris, you might be able to get one of these chrome plated doohickeys for your, but just don't wear it if it's, like Spock's brain or something like that.
Don't wear it while you're driving either.
No,
I mean, that would be terrible.
Unless you own a Tesla, then you can just get into an accident.
It would definitely make for good cosplay.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that'd be cool. So, because you mentioned Sam, how are we? How do we like the characters, and do we have any favorites? Because I've got a couple.
Oh, well,
there are a lot of characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters on this, and it moves around a lot. But I forget. Is the character of Wade introduced in the first and two episodes? The head of the strategic, what's it called? The Strategic Intelligence Agency.
Oh yeah, the Game of Thrones, the other Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the older guy. Yeah, he's my favorite through the entire series. I like his character.
Okay.
And then a character you haven't seen yet. It appears, well, you see him as a younger man, but you see him later on. He's also another favorite.
Physicists.
Liam Cunningham, cool. Thomas Wade. Yeah, he was in episode 2 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a physicist, I like all the physicists.
Well,
they're all.
I am a Jack.
They're all
Rudy.
Kids, huh?
Well, they're not. They're okay. Yeah, they're all about kids. 30.
Yeah,
in their late 20s, about 30. Yes,
kids.
I would, but they're physicists. So
well, it just shows that you want to see people who are engaged, that they've gone through the educational process, and then they're in their 30s, and they're very smart individuals, and everyone in this is either a smart or a soldier, one or the other.
Yeah, for me, I'm all about Jack Rudy, the Sam character, and Benedict Wong's character. Like, I love him. Yeah. He has like the perfect.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. It's just like his voice combined with the British accent and the smoking. He's like the coolest detective. He's not really a detective. I'm not actually sure technically what he is, but I love his character because he gives off a detective vibe. But they're like he doesn't work for.
Well, but he just kind of gets sucked into the whole thing. And I won't say any more.
I think I like, and in the series it's Dashi is his name, Benedict Wong's character. And I gotta say I think Liam Cunningham is awesome as Thomas Wade.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yep, that's how I like him. And he's And then, but again, the other character of Jack Rooney, our friend from Moonfall, folks.
I was going to say, do you feel better about him?
That's right. I thought I recognized this.
Yes, that's the man with irritable bowel syndrome from Moonfall, kids.
Yes.
And
he's just Sam Tarley. But let's forget that he was in Moonfall.
Yeah,
he was in. I checked it out, kids. He was there.
Yeah,
he's our guy that.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Yeah,
and I'm going to say my favorite character is Rosalind Jao because I just can't say she's not
She's very important for this story.
She's really good
is.
at pretending like she's giving birth too in a very special next gen episode. So,
yep, that's a fun one.
Worf, have you done this before?
No. And Worf in DS9 just immediately is like he wants to be off the station when she's giving birth, and I love it. When it's when Kira's giving birth.
Yeah.
Folks, we're back to Star Trek again, kids.
Push harder, Kiko. I am pushing.
Attention all Starfleet personnel. New York's only fan-run Star Trek convention, Trek Long Island, is back this summer. Get ready for 3 days of sci-fi fun celebrating your favorite franchise in the Empire State. Meet the stars from Trek shows spanning different eras, including Melissa Navia and Yetidi Badaki from Strange New Worlds, Gabrielle Ruiz from Lower Decks, Armin Shimmerman, Chase Masterson, J.G. Hertzler, and Kitty Swink from DS9, Ethan Phillips from Voyager, Janet Kidder, Tara Rosling, Conrad Coates, and Elias Tefexis from Discovery, and many more, including celebrities who haven't been at a Star Trek convention in years, like Clyde Kasatsu, Natalia Nogalich, and Daphne Ashbrook. Come meet your fellow fans. Take in a panel with your favorite podcasters. Enjoy Dinner with the Stars, featuring live musical performances. Meet authors, artists, and musicians, and so many more during this epic 3-day event brought to you by the talented and inclusive community that makes Star Trek go at warp speed. Trek Long Island takes place from May 31st to June 2nd at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Hauppauge, New York. Visit treklongisland.com for tickets, exclusive packages, and more information. Trek Long Island, going kindly this summer.
Yes. Where else do I want to go? What other thoughts do we have? Actually, that's what I wanted to ask, because we said we're talking about their favorite characters. How are we feeling about how the characters are gelling? Like, are there too many characters, or do you think there's just enough characters for the story?
I kind of feel like 2 episodes in, I could change my mind, but I feel like I'm able to follow along fairly well so far with everybody just 2 episodes in. So I would say, yeah, it's interesting. The dynamics are interesting. The friendships are interesting. The enemies, are interesting, how they're in, it's just, the show overall is so interesting. I find the characters that way too. So,
yeah, I'm just not processing names completely yet after 2 episodes. I'm processing visuals when I see them and knowing what their role in the story is. But I have not yet been able to process all the names.
There's a lot. And and new ones come in and other ones leave, and there you go.
Yeah, but I'm following it, other than I'm just like, I can't tell you the names of any.
Yeah.
That's how I'm finding it.
Well, that's why I printed out Wikipedia.
The list.
Yes, with a list of characters, and I had to write down, oh yes, that is, I don't want to say, but anyway, they become characters later on. But yes, I wrote down Thomas Wade, tough guy. And I wrote down Augie, nanowire girl, and John Bradley, Jack Rooney as jerk.
Wasn't that so? That was a really interesting scene for me when Augie presses the key or whatever for that cutting thing, the nano wire thing, to start cutting the diamond, and she taps it, and then she says, "Shut it down right now," and that's what takes away her countdown. The thing she poured her life and soul into became less important in light of what she was facing.
Yeah, it was a good
very
scene.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but I have to say, I'm also of the same feeling where it's like, especially with the good guys, I feel like we're getting to see enough of them, and so far, what am I trying to say? They seem to gel, and I feel like we're getting enough information to understand who they are. And what I'm hoping, and I'll have to see if I'm right about this, but the feeling I get is what I call the Independence Day story structure, where it's all the different good guy characters are all contributing to whatever the solution's going to be. In that, they're all doing little things, they're all learning things, and it's okay, I see how they're going to hopefully connect to whatever the resolution is. So I like that, and
you won't be disappointed.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, but the question,
Yeah, but-
back to the countdown, the countdown, then she shuts down the research.
Yeah.
Okay, she's being blackmailed. Whether the reason is a human one or an extraterrestrial one or whatever the reason is, at the end of the day, she's being blackmailed.
Yep.
And I think you never know how a person is going to react in a blackmail situation until they're in the blackmail situation.
Mhm.
And she's got this is like the weirdest, unique one because she can't prove to anybody. Yes, this is why she didn't tell anyone at her office or at the place that she works, is because who's going to believe her that she's seeing crazy numbers? It's not like there's a blackmail email that she could show somebody or a phone call. Yeah, there's nothing. It's like,
blackmailed or manipulated?
It's blackmail.
Blackmail.
I mean, I guess
Blackmail. It's yeah.
Did
Dean
they?
is correct.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say blackmail is a form of manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Just in general,
true.
blackmail.
I
That is
relent.
what blackmail is.
I relent. Yeah.
Because whenever there's a countdown, you don't know what's going to happen when you get to 0000. And if she understands that if she doesn't shut it down, she will reach a zero, and whatever that might be. And that might be, she might be assassinated. Who knows? You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. But
So, yeah.
but again, even whether you know or not, it's still blackmail. She's still being forced to do something essentially against her will, or there'll be consequences. Whether or not you know what those consequences are, that's a different.
Yeah, I guess
different
that's where
aspect.
I'm getting held up on the blackmail. They're not saying we're gonna spill your whole life. you did this and we've got pictures.
No.
That's why blackmail. That's what I associate with blackmail is.
I think it's
I've
still,
got
it's
this
still
on
blackmail.
you, and so therefore, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
So
I know
what's
I know what you mean. I think it's still. I think this is still technically blackmail, as in, you better do something, or we're going to do something in response.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right. It
Right,
includes
okay.
we have your family hostage. You open the bank vault right now, or that something's going to happen to them.
Hey, all right. That's a good explanation, Steve.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because it seems like it could be a fun addition to our show. Is this blackmail or just manipulation? And we'll see how often we can.
Tonight, is
bring
it blackmail or cake? Let's see.
Let's do it.
Is it real or is it cake? Is a Netflix show that
Yes,
my 5-year-old just got hooked on.
Oh, good for
Yep,
him. It
we've
is a great
watched
show. Yes, we love it. We love it.
Sometimes
The guy-
you can really tell. Other times you're like,
Oh, yeah.
what is
Wait,
the cake?
what?
Yeah.
I can't see it.
All
So-
I know is I'm watching it, and then all I want to do afterwards is eat some cake.
I want to
welcome
eat
to
a
my
bag
life.
that looks like a bag of $100 bills and then go, no.
I have to say though, I've never liked fondant on cake.
It's
I've
too
never
chewy.
liked
Yeah.
the taste
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
fondant.
I can
It's
go
the thing
either
you
way.
peel off to get underneath it. That's right.
But you can peel it off and eat the cake,
Mhm.
assuming it's a good
Yeah.
cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you just like sugar, then go to it, kids. Anyway,
Which I may or may not have done.
we're really gone on.
Last year.
This
Yeah.
really is a tangent episode,
This is
kids.
a tangent.
Really tangenty.
Speaking of Fred Flintstone, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, the Flintstones. Yeah, so I was watching.
Just
I
kidding.
started watching that series 10 years ago. I don't know. I haven't watched it. But what? Yeah, any final thoughts? Because I feel like there's so many. I'm sure there's so many other places that we can go. I'm just trying to think because
I'm disappointed that we're not talking about the actual 3-body problem.
but how much can we get into the 3-body problem? Like how much of that is in the first 2 episodes?
Well, I mean, no, like the real actual, have a physics discussion about the 3-body problem.
Let's do that because they keep. I know nothing about the book. I'm not up on the latest physics. Okay, but they keep showing what looks like
3
is
circles.
the Earth, Sun, and the Moon
Mm-hmm.
coming into alignment somehow. So, why don't you do that? Adina?
I will do
Yeah,
that. See,
that's-
I
You're
can-
fishing.
Why
I just
not?
hooked
yes,
the
thank
hook.
you.
You just hooked us. Now reel us in and
Our
tell us
resident
about
physicist will tell us all.
So when we're talking about 3-body problems, okay, I guess let me step back. When you take like a high school physics class or your first physics 101 in college, one of the things that you're gonna do when you start studying forces and gravity is you'll talk about a 2-body problem. It's boiling down things to kind of like a simple way. And you talk about how two bodies interact with each other. And to kind of make it real or make it, applicable, we will often like say the earth and the sun or the earth and the moon. And so you have, two bodies and it's a two-body problem and it's a very deterministic problem and it's fairly easy to solve. Newton and Kepler did it for us, a bazillion years ago. And that's kind of what we learned. Now you put a third body and make it a three-body problem and you can't really solve it. Not like you can a two-body problem. Assuming in the general sense, and in the general sense, we mean like you have three bodies that are sort of equal. Okay. The reason we can predict things like our eclipses, a solar eclipse and things like that.
Thank you, Adina.
Is because you really have, this is like the Earth and Moon system, and then the sun is so far away, it really has kind of like a little effect on the two-body system. And that's how we can do things like have spacecraft go out into like interstellar space and go to the moon and go other places. So the general three-body problem where you're trying to solve the motion of three bodies kind of acting on each other, you can't really do it easily. So for hundreds of years from when this was like first discovered, is like, oh, let's think about this. We didn't have the mathematical tools, and then we didn't have computers. So these days with like computers and stuff, you can kind of do it. Up in for the 100 or 200 years before computers, we would have approximations or restricted problems where we make an assumption about one of those three bodies, and it gets very complicated very quickly. And I feel like I'm doing a terrible job explaining this.
No, you've done a wonderful job, Adina.
It's really
you
cool
really
physics
have.
stuff. This is some of, I know for me, when you go into the field of physics to study it, you cover gravitational stuff, you cover electricity and magnetism stuff, you cover quantum physics and everything. But the gravity stuff was always my favorite part. All this kind of dynamic stuff. And it does lead to like planetary motions. It leads to spacecraft being able to like go places. So this was always my favorite part.
All right. So let's I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I don't want to say I didn't realize this was like a real thing that was people were actively studying, that this is like a common if you talk to a physicist and you say three-body problem, they're like, I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I did not know that.
And so cool. What was really interesting, I'm trying to think of it is so the book came out in 2006. And I was trying to think of like, I'm curious to know, like, when was the guy actually writing the book? He could have been like noodling on this book for 20 years before it actually got published or something.
Sure.
And the reason why I'm curious about that is because it's like the 1990s is when we started to really have some computational power to do more interesting things in this area. It was like up until the 1990s, you really like, you had very old school methods to not quite solve this. It was like starting in the 90s is when you actually start. So I'm curious, given the name of the book, and I don't know, I'm assuming the name really does translate as three-body problem from Chinese to, it has that same meaning of that physics problem.
Right.
So I'm like really curious as to where the author was in understanding and thinking about it, like versus the state of the art, computing stuff. So I don't know.
But again, for people to put it into perspective, the Apollo missions going to the moon, you have the gravitational forces of the Earth that you're overcoming. And then you have the gravitational moon, the forces of the moon pulling the spacecraft into it.
Yeah.
So there's a point where you're going from one situation to another situation, but there's not a third situation that they have to deal with, correct?
Well, so it's not really that. You do have to take into account we call them perturbations at that point, the perturbations of the sun, and even depending on how fine detail you need your like orbit knowledge and orbit predictions to be, you even have to take into account things like Jupiter, but then there's also like non-gravitational forces that you have to think about when we think about the motion of our satellites. From the sun, you get solar wind. and that will actually, push on your spacecraft. When, depending on where you are in Earth's orbit, you might have effects related to the magnetic field that perturb your spacecraft orbit. If you're low in Earth's orbit, like you still get a little bit of drag from the atmosphere. So the way you think of it is like kind of like there's the base solution, the simple solution, and then you add these perturbations on it to like have your full prediction of your motion or of your trajectory.
Very good. Thank you. Folks,
Yeah.
we are having one of our most scientific discussions about a fictional science fiction series.
Yeah, but so when they talk about these things and what's good, I don't know. Again, they got into it in the book, and I assume they have to get into it in the series. They're going to cover some other really deep science concepts like quantum entanglement. And, and so again, like my big stuff was, gravitationally things and optics things. I did all the quantum courses I had, and stuff I had to do, but that was definitely not my strong suit. But I understand the base, I understand the basics and everything. But like, so when you start talking about quantum entanglement, that is a very hard concept for people to wrap their brains around. And like I said, I'm assuming, knowing the book, I'm assuming they're going to have to cover it. And if they actually explain, like they have one-liners to explain stuff, kind of like what they've done so far, I think that's like amazing, to really take like hard science fiction and make it accessible to non-scientists. Like that is impressive.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think this, because Star Trek we know has inspired a lot of scientists, a lot of astronauts. There's other sci-fi that has done that as well. Do you think this could possibly, this book and this show, because right now, as of April 10th, it is the most searched for sci-fi in streaming right now. Do you think this could maybe push a generation, or at least a lot of folks, into studying physics in the future, going into college, saying, I think I need to, this is interesting. I want to learn more about this.
I realize why I'm saying, like, I'm sad that it's a TV MA. Although, like I said, it depends on, every family is different. And like I said, based on the first 2 episodes, I would probably let my almost 14-year-old watch it. Like the content that I saw, knowing him and how he is, but I haven't seen the rest, so I don't know if it gets worse or what happens. But so the thing is, the fact that I'm on the fence now with 2 episodes, I feel like for myself, if he was 16, 17, I would certainly let him watch this.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough interesting stuff.
No, it's the cussing.
I think it's the swearing.
No,
yeah,
it's the nudity.
No.
The nudity in the second episode, I think.
Yeah, where everyone is
where they're
dehydrated.
Dehydrated that
people.
So
come back.
Honestly, that kind of the non-sexual nudity, I have no problem with my kids seeing that. Again,
no.
like
I'm just saying why
different.
it's getting the rating.
But there's
for that the language and the violence, the blood of.
So the language for my own situation, and again, every kid is different. So I won't, what I say for my older kid at his age is not necessarily what I would say for my younger child when he gets to this age. But for my current older child, the nudity in the second episode, that's fine. Again, non-sexual nudity, I have no problem with. That's just people. The level of the language, again, given he's been exposed to that language, I hear his friends cussing, and he's not. Again, he's
it's his choice how he uses languages.
Yes, and he's, at least as far as I can tell, behaves at a level that I'm okay. I mean, I cursed like crazy when I was that age, so it is. So that part doesn't bother me.
My sister is 62, and she talks like a sailor. I mean, she's just.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I usually give her a hard time about it. But I would say this is okay. Go ahead, Dee.
Well, I was going to say that the stuff so far, that only hesitation I would have so far is some of the violence parts.
Okay, I will just say this: episode 5. That's your level of violence that you will probably want to talk about. Yeah. Okay.
But again, given some of the other things, like there is a lot of, in video games and everything, there is a lot of violence. Like I said, it depends. but that
Mhm.
child of mine is on the like more mature-ish end.
Right.
So I'm more, comfortable. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the throat cutting. That stuff is.
Well,
Oh
so
yes.
Is-
in
is-
when
in
Jack
the
when
Ooh.
Jack blows it
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the
it happened
VR,
again. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
in the
I can't-
VR
I-
part, that the stuff that's happened in the VR stuff so far in episode 2, yeah, again, that part I
Yeah.
have no problem. That was not
Mm.
extreme enough. Like that, my child could handle that one. That
Yeah,
doesn't
it's-
bother me.
Yeah. The episode.
Guy with the eyeballs and the writing blood all over the wall.
Yeah, like I said,
Well,
that's where I'm. That stuff is
Poor
where I'm
guy.
iffy-ish.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Even the opening sequence when the father is beaten
Oh
to
yeah,
a
that's
pulp.
brutal.
Yeah.
And the makeup there is, pretty
Yeah.
graphic.
Yeah.
Pretty
Mhm.
graphic.
But-
I was eating lunch while I was watching it going, oh yeah.
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 but this
Yeah.
this show, like I said, when he's 16, 17, for this child, I would at that point
Yeah.
I'm probably done monitoring what he's watching anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like almost done monitoring what I'm watching. The fact that he knows about certain horror shows, and I'm like, do you even know about that movie? Like, we were talking about the Saw films recently.
Oh,
Ooh,
I'm like,
I've not seen
I
any of those.
I saw the first one. That was enough.
No.
That was too much.
I just saw a
he hasn't
sequence from that,
seen
and that was
them?
no way.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
hasn't seen
Mhm.
it, but like the fact that he knows about it.
Mhm. But that's where it's notorious. It's like, it's like The Exorcist. Okay. When it came out, people hadn't seen it, already knew about it because it was notorious of the sequences in the film that,
Yeah,
so you don't even have to so he's smart enough. He's experienced.
I
these
want to
things.
know who introduced my daughter to Taylor freaking Swift. That's what I want to know right now. America, I want to know.
Is
who
your daughter a
introduced-
Swiftie now?
She is a hardcore Swiftie.
Oh, good
and
for her.
there's no
Aw.
stopping the train. And I'm good with Taylor. I think
Yeah.
I think Taylor's one of the good ones. So
Yeah.
I think
just
so.
tried
That's
to
always
be-
been my.
Yeah.
trying to be fun.
I like Taylor Swift. She's good.
But I'm
and
a little
she's
bit
not
over
violent.
the-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
but
Well,
You're not-
she
you're not
says some
excited
things
for
about
the-
exes, though. And-
yeah,
Mhm.
but again, going back to just can this show inspire people to want to
Yeah.
study or know more about physics? I think it really can. I think
I
they
think
did
it-
such
yeah.
a good job. I think it really can.
All
I
the
hope it
cool
does.
kids are
Yeah.
physicists in this episode, in this series.
Yes.
They're all the
Yes.
cool kids.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's that's a great point, Steve.
Yeah.
They're not just nerds. They're not.
Hey,
you know what
We
I
were always
mean?
cool.
Hey,
I
listen,
know.
you know what I mean.
No,
They're
no.
not stereotyped as
Mhm.
pocket
if-
protector wearing. You know what I mean? Like
They're not Sheldon
suspender
Cooper.
and
They're not
thick,
Sheldon
huge
Cooper.
glasses.
Okay,
They
yes.
did it. It's great.
But they're
Now,
yeah.
okay, Sheldon Cooper, and I love The Big Bang Theory. It's a sitcom. Sitcoms,
Right.
kind of by definition, are caricatures of whatever
Yes.
they're portraying.
Exactly.
Now, that
We're-
said, I love The Big Bang Theory because
Yes,
they
yeah.
are reasonable. Like these are caricatures. I knew those people.
Mhm.
I might have been one of those people.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I felt like it reminds me of when Iron Man came out, and I felt like it was maybe one of the first times in the film where we'd seen like someone so brilliant as Tony Stark, but also really friendly.
Super cool.
So now it's like the same kind of thing where they're out smoking, they're drinking, they're talking like I just don't want to say normal, but they're talking like the everyday person.
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, these guys are like people you'd want to hang out with if you're at a party.
Yep.
So it's
Mhm.
fun
Yeah,
that they're
the-
like that,
yeah.
but they're also physicists, showing that hey,
Mhm.
just because you're a physicist doesn't mean that you're going to be a nerd, quote unquote, like in the way that we see in TV.
We were
in
always
the
like-
cool.
negative sense of the
Yeah,
It was just our
exactly.
cover story, so people left us alone.
Right.
That's good. I love that.
Any other questions, Chris, you want to bring up before
I
we
don't
go on
have-
another discussion that has nothing to do with this film?
Well, what else could we discuss?
Or
that
has
has
everything to do with
the show?
this series? Yes.
I love Rosalind. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool to see her. I love the fact that she's like, I don't think it's a resurgence because she's been in stuff, but it's just nice to see her back on TV.
Mhm.
And I like her character. She has depth. So
She's
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
good in this. She's a very she's very I don't want to say anymore.
yeah, Yeah, I mean,
I know
that's,
too much.
I don't know,
I know too much.
unless there's any
Okay.
final thoughts, but I'm just like, because I know once I get off this, I'm
Well,
going to go watch more.
Yeah, because
Probably.
that's your last question. How much do you want to keep watching? Well, I had to watch it all the way through, and I won't say anything more about it.
Did you
but
watch it? Did you watch it in one sit down or several sit downs?
It was 1, 2, 3. It took 3
Okay.
to do it, and I could because they're hour-long episodes. So, I could only yes, I watched the last 2 episodes, and I watched 3 the prior time, like that. So yeah, so it took a little bit to getting through it, but got through it. So there you go.
I want to watch more for sure, Chris. I want to keep going and see it to the end, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
All right.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yep.
Don't fall
An
off.
episode a day for the next 6 days on the treadmill.
Okay.
I
there you
should
go.
do that, but I might do more than that. We'll see. We'll see how much I can control myself.
Okay.
But yeah, but you know what? Thank you everyone for another great discussion. Remember, stay safe, watch some sci-fi, and of course, join us at Trek Long Island 2 from May 31st to June 2nd. And while you're on the plane, maybe watch some 3-Body Problem or watch it right now. But either way, have fun, and we'll see you next time.